Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent as then as you are today, we all wouldn't have to be here now, would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did, all of it. Alright, now it seems time has come. Boop, 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 boop. Had to do it that day, couldn't let it stand by and just die. Stole the detective's ID, dressed like him, planned to take out the evidence, wasn't expecting Officer Meekins to knock him out, managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't a murder in the evidence room at 5:15. Wasn't there a shit ton of blood? So the supposed victim was really you. There's one thing I still don't understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor in the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's a donor. It was way too much blood for such a small donation. What do you, when you say it, you mean you even have to ask, partner. The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It's going to completely end with the transfer all that day. Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only that case's lead detective can look through the evidence. I want to have a look at it myself one more time. No matter what the cost, I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? And today was my last chance. That's why. Hold on. That's why. Marshall. Neil Marshall. Why was he still on the case then? The blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. Are you blind? The victim shown on the tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker? Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Wait, is that 777 then? Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. I'd have a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. Better take another look at the files. Is this why we present it? Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transfer, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to fool the security camera, and the detective's ID card. I stole that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filling out that lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. Why did you leave it on the floor, though? The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean, the fingerprint activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that locker yourself. But he could because a rubber glove just happened to get stuck in the door. And that means Detective Goodman must have opened a locker before Officer Marshall. Okay, then we press this one. Okay, we're supposed to press all of them. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off. Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a 1 in a million type of person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder, demanding to show his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his race this year. Again, why are the prosecutors involved with the cops' raises? When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. And I'm sorry it had to turn out that way. With me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. So you knocked Officer Meekins out and... So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difficult difference though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all gone to plan, no footage would have been left. Wait, is he not the one that like overlooks it? I guess not. However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. Someone was in the security room and I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker, stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what you're saying is on that day, Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer. This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. Like, homeboy should have been fired a long time ago, though. Can't be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. He should have been fired months ago. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. Huh. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. Oh, we know why. Full press. But that case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room. Joe Dark was convicted for his crimes. One thing I can say for certain is he deserved his sentence. I remember the Joe Dark case. It involved serial murders, didn't it? I don't intend to complain about how it turned out. There's something that still bothers me. Something went down at that trial. Something no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's why I'm trying to find out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. I better take another look at the files. Oh, we know why. So it's the closest thing we have. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name, Marshall, is mentioned in here. In a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago, he received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? Prosecutor? You must be talking about the King of Prosecutors Award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right, he was killed. And the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? He was my brother. He was investigating the murders with Damon Gant, the then Deputy Chief of Police. A group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother, Father Darkin, was killed. That was the first time Dark had left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed, at least according to public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it? That's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened to the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with this resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. The thing that happened The things that happen by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's going to be more than just that. So if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, then that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was a real one. Which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye. But wait, a verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of this simultaneous murder at the police department. It seems to me this boy's got the draw on you, partner. All of the mysteries of the police department has been resolved, no doubt about it. Our sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye. And the testimony of one Miss Angel Starr is completely incontestable. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. I rest my case. It seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no more room for doubt. All done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security tape really was fake. And I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty. Now then, the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant. Emma! Your Honor, wait! Emma, the defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright, are you sure are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking for a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. See, this, like, the cocky, arrogant bullshit makes sense. But this whole fact of him, like, not wanting to leave the loose ends kind of makes sense to, like, the whole thing of him wanting, I don't want to say absolute, I'm going to say absolute truth. Where it is, like, regardless of whether he wins or loses, his main focus is getting towards the truth, which has kind of always been there. And, you know, I'm going to say, if you ever watched NCIS, which I watched it so much as a kid because my parents were obsessed with the show, it definitely falls into the lines of, like, Gibbs, where it's like, you know, I'm going to take the rules, I'm going to move them over this way, I'm going to do what I need to get that truth, even if I'm not necessarily doing 100% legal things. But it's not to the point of Von Karma where it's like, I'm going to murder, like, Edgeworth hasn't tried to kill us yet. So I think this is kind of leaning a little bit towards that absolute truth, but I think, I'm very curious with, like, kind of the back and forth of his character. It's very interesting. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dart killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Sky sisters were in that file. But that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprints had nothing to do with the crime. Thanks. Left only one thing. The other handprint. You mean the trace of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker? No fingerprints were found on it, right? No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So, ran over there and looked at it again. So you did find something? No. Huh? Sorry. I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all.
Is that all?
Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student.
And I'm just an attorney.
But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you.
Me? Oh boy.
Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright, with regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the floor plan, a hand print was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry it can't be of more use, but still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be... Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day.
Yes, Your Honor. If I ever needed to concentrate, it's now.
What could be wrong with the handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Okay, here's the thing. If we're going off the belief that Marshall put, like, when he opened his locker, he left a bloody handprint, but then the one on Gumshoe's locker, doesn't have a handprint. Why?
There'd be something I'm missing.
That's my thing. That's my theory.
Of course we're gonna process this. His handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that's clear is you're grasping, Mr. Wright.
You've been staring pretty intently at these floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them?
Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the...
Wait! Let me check something. I think I figured it out. I'm gonna look at this. The blue badger is in front of it. So that couldn't have been Marshall. That had to have been someone else. I'm not even kidding when I say I didn't look that up. I just had that thought. I was like, wait. Let's pray the defense is simply trying to buy us time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's gotta be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something is missing in the floor plans? The blue badger wasn't there. The blue badger was in front of the locker. I think. What about that piece of plywood?
The blue badger, mascot of the police force, defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The blue badger is not here. So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime scene. At the time of the crime.
Well, what?
That's right. So long as the blue badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at the spot on the locker. What?
So that means, just exactly what does that mean?
It means it can't be done.
What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker.
Don't look at me, I didn't put it there.
Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically.
Emma.
On that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the blue badger into the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker.
So that means this blood mark was left there before the blue badger was brought in?
Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom.
It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is the other time. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. The murder portrayed in the security tape had been proven to be a fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming this murder you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves when it occurred. When did the first incident occur?
To summarize, the defense claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that evidence room.
That's right. The blood mark on the locker proves this.
Very well, then tell us, when did this first incident occur? As Mr. Edgeworth says, proof must be presented.
Proof that shows when the murder took place. There can only be one piece of evidence that shows that.
Now then, will the defense please present this evidence? Will it show when the crime first took place? Where's our sheet? Because this is the only thing we have.
If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the killer would have had to enter it. And in order to do so, an ID card would have been required.
An ID card? Oh, the ID card record.
Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel into the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50.
If the crime took place before that time, then it would be
4:40. Ah!
Miles Edgeworth! Just what have you done?
I never would have figured you had the nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me.
Nope, I ain't getting it.
Huh. I'm afraid I don't understand either. It's clear from the luminol test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, it's physically impossible.
Isn't there... I guess it was at the police station. I was like, wasn't there this whole, like, ceremony thing for, like, the Prosecutor of the Year award? That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room.
Let's look at the chart again. There's only one card remaining. 777.
Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make any sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room?
Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 7 sevens, all them sevens.
Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose identity is 77777.
This one's 7 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card, at least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number belongs to someone with the rank of captain or higher. Someone who is a so-called executive officer. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous. Just how... I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There's one situation in which we can be granted such authority. If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted, an official charge... You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's just how the prosecutor's office operates.
That was your brother.
Way to shit-talk your dead brother. Take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I'd appreciate it if you kept your slander to yourself.
And also slandering your dead brother. Like, you were like, I'm gonna commit all these crimes to figure out what happened to my brother, but then also, like, slander his fucking name in, like, the same breath.
Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask a question. Yes. No, not to you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana. Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course we looked up her ID, and it's not all them sevens. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident. The SL9 incident. Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In the trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence?
Again. It was his brother that was in charge of it till he died. I don't understand Marshall's...
Do you need the witness to repeat this question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt powerless and...
Wait, no, his brother was like... No, his brother was prosecutor. Or the prior prosecutor, yeah.
Felt powerless in the law. At least, I did.
Lana,
I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law, but before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law.
Defendant, just what are you saying?
I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look at me? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime,
in the ads say that you did. Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why won't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. Lana! Even if it involved forging evidence. See, that's what I'm talking about. No. Lana's remarks caused such a stir, the chaos in the courtroom would have had to wait until the following day. And that's where we're going to end the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.